How are you this morning?
Good.
Good. Thanks for getting her dressed, Esther Pie.
You're welcome.
You helping Joshy with chores now? Yeah. Good morning, Nadie.
Morning.
Caleb's getting his morning water. How are you this morning, Caleb?
I'm doing good.
Good. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Homestead. If you're new to our channel, welcome. We are so glad you're here. And for those who don't know, we are a family of 9 living in Ozarks of Missouri. And for the past about 7 years, we've been endeavoring to build an off-grid permaculture homestead. So although we've got a lot of experience with gardening, we haven't had a whole ton of time to put toward it, building our home and homestead as well. Today's video is just a reflection of what we've learned and what we've implemented so far, which is about half of our big picture plan for gardens. Hope you enjoy this today. And I'd love to encourage you to leave a comment for us down below. We really love getting comments. And when you do, could you please let us know where you're from? Because we've been having fun with homeschooling the children and teaching them geography based on where you all are living. So we'd appreciate you leaving a comment below if you have the time. Alright, so we're going to start in our kitchen garden, which is right off of our house. It's so nice to be so close to the house when you go out into the garden. So we have Mexican sour gherkins that we put on this little trellis here. And I did this to kind of be a protection because there's a wall that goes down here to our root cellar, and I didn't want little ones falling in, so it makes a good barrier. And we love the Mexican sour gherkins. They're a lot of fun. Alright, then we have a whole new section here, fairly new. We started this area of the garden last year because we had just gotten our walkway in around our root cellar. We used to all just be hard-packed clay and piles of dirt here, so now we've got a bed full of a new variety of bush bean that I'm trying called Purple Queen Improved. And we have a few little volunteer dill plants coming up here as well. The next section is mostly just perennial flowers and herbs, and we're creating a fun little design in the center of it. So most of what we have in here is only a year or 2 at most old, and when you grow perennials from seed, it takes a while for them to flower, so we probably won't see a lot of the flowers till next year, but there's still a lot of color in here with the anise hyssop, which is the bees and pollinators absolutely love, and it's one of our favorite tea herbs. We've also got some yarrow in here, some echinacea. I planted a few annuals like cinnamon basil, and then we also have a fun little surprise. The kids like to spit their watermelon seeds, so we got a volunteer watermelon growing in here as well, which is kind of fun. Alright, and then the next area, the next bed, we have mostly tomatoes. We've got 2 different varieties growing in here. We have a purple Russian, which was just free seed given to us last year, so it's our first year trying that one. And then one that we've grown for a few years now called pink Brandywine. It's a huge tomato that we just love. It's so juicy and good for slicing. Cameraman's getting distracted.
Look at the pretty butterflies. How can I not be distracted by that? Sorry folks, okay, back to our regular prepare program.
And then I also have Emily basil, which is like the regular Genovese basil, but it's a dwarf variety, so it doesn't get as big, and I really like that. I can put it as a border all around the tomatoes, and it doesn't take over. And then we also have some calendula and a beautiful little blanket flower called Mesa Peach. It's first year growing from seed. So beautiful. So this beautiful butterfly here is actually in the first of our area that I call the circle gardens, and it's really only a half circle, but it has a beautiful vintage wine hibiscus, I think that's the name of it, hardy in our zone 6. So every year it dies back to the root. I cut down the branches and then it comes back in this new huge bush every year with beautiful blooms. I just love it. Also got some zinnias and then a few little ground covers that are just starting as well. Perennials that I'm hoping will take off next year. Alright, so then the next circle bed is kind of a big jumbled mess of just things that I didn't know where to put, but it turned out really beautiful. So we have some zinnias. These are cream red lime, I believe it is, although I've been saving the seeds, so they're kind of changing. Sometimes when you save seeds, you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but I still think they're beautiful. There's some gumfrida in here. This is a roselle, which I grow every year for hibiscus tea. I save the calyxes and dry them for tea. And then we have in the center here a dwarf moringa, and I like to dry that as well and add that into soups or teas. It's just so nutrient rich. It's like a multivitamin. And then right behind me is another circle bed, and it's got in the center a rose of Sharon, which was gifted to us. So thank you to the person who gave us that. And then below it is all just perennial herbs and flowers. We've got echinacea. This beautiful purple is a purple mist flower. This I just found actually growing wild when I think it was our second year on the property, and since then I have divided it out and it has just become this beautiful border around the Rose of Sharon, intermixed with some mountain mint. And then also we've got some wild goldenrod that hasn't started blooming yet, but the golden flowers of that with the mist flowers can be really beautiful here soon.
Not as beautiful as you.
Oh, thanks, love. Next we have over here the children's play area. If you have children, you know that the garden space is one of the favorite places. So we often have bikes and Legos and various things all around the garden. Although I'm trying to get better at having the children help clean that up. So this bed underneath our redbud tree is kind of a shade-loving area, and so we've got some hostas that were gifted to us, and then various other perennial flowers. There's a couple different salvias in here, geranium, perennial flax, a few other things. So there's not much color here because it's the first year for this bed, but by next year it should be much more abundant with lots of color. Alright, and so then the very back bed we've got raspberries, and I just planted this year some hibiscus cranberries, so we haven't harvested from those yet. I'm hoping that they're gonna do okay here in Missouri. I don't know, we've never tried hibiscus cranberries here, but we'll see. And then we've got another bed of strawberries on the edge over by the turkeys. We've got some rhubarb in a bed here, and we can go over this way, love. Here we have a persimmon tree, and just below it I've got various flowers planted, some annuals, apricot, lemonade, cosmo, and then we've also got a love song mix in here as well, and first time foxgloves. Never grown foxgloves before, but we've got some of those still hanging out. They're kind of past their time, and then a few other perennial flowers. Okay, and then over this direction we've got a circle of mint that wants to take over the whole garden. And in the very center is a flying dragon trifoliate orange, or it's like a hardy citrus that I've heard is like a cross between a lemon and an orange, but we have not gotten fruit yet, so maybe next year. And then there's a Pixwell gooseberry tucked in with that as well. We've got a bed with some honeyberries that are fairly new, so they're just putting on new growth this year. And then we've got 6 strawberry beds, all in raised cedar beds that the boys built last year. And that's because we get floodwaters that come through our garden, and we kept losing soil around the strawberry beds, so we put the boards around just to help temporarily hold in the soil until we put our cement rock pathways through to hold everything in. And then over here is another beautiful hardy hibiscus. This one's called Brandy Punch, and it's just loving life here. So if you live in Missouri and you want a bush that's got tons of color late summer and into fall, that you don't have to do anything with. It is so easy. Hardy hibiscus.
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful, yeah. And then past that, along this bed here, is mostly where we have our walking onions. They're a perennial onion that comes back every year. But we had some volunteer tomatoes that I just left, and I've not pruned them. They're just going wild all over the place here. So those hopefully will be starting to ripen up soon. We also have some basil that seeded itself, and we've got creeping thyme in this bed also. Alright, I think now we'll head back to our front annual beds, and that's where we have mostly stuff that we rotate through every year, annual stuff, no perennials except for a few flowers on the ends. Alright, so this first one, we've got some perennial herbs and flowers in the front. The one I really love right now, it's called Twizzle Coral Penstemon. Penstemons are a first time flower for me, and they seem to do really well here in Missouri. So I've got 3 different varieties around the garden, but the Twizzle Coral is the one that's in bloom right now. And then there's one other I'll show you soon. And then here we have a massive amount of seashell. And I've talked about this in another video. Use it in salads, and you can put it in teas. It's in the mint family, and it's got kind of a little bit of a cinnamony basil smell to it and flavor. So if you like that, it is toxic to cows though, so you don't want to give it to your cows. Got petunias. This is my first year growing petunias, so I got 2 varieties. This one is called Double Orchid Mist. It was supposed to be white, and it's pink and white. So sometimes you don't know what you're going to get when you grow things from seed. It's still beautiful though. And then at the far side of the bed, we've got one of our favorite bush beans. It's called Dragon Tongue. We've grown it since the first year here. It's absolutely wonderful. We mostly just eat them fresh from the garden, so those are going to be ready soon. Then over here we have Mahon yams. We grew them last year and they did really well, so got another huge bed of them.
Looks like they're doing really well again.
Yeah. Excited for digging those up in another month or so.
That'll be a fun video.
Yes. We have a hollyhock right at the front of this bed. I'm still undecided about the hollyhocks. Tried to get rust-free varieties, but I still had some issues with rust, so I'm not sure if it's going to stay. Probably going to move it to a different location, but we'll see. The next bed is pretty much empty. There's some potatoes that haven't started coming up yet at the end. I'm hopeful that they'll start growing before it's too late. We'll see. I don't usually get a good second potato harvest, but I keep trying every year to plant potatoes in the summertime to see if we can get a fall crop, so we'll see. More perennials, flowers here, the Twizzle Coral Penstemon, and oregano and yarrow. Here is the other Penstemon, Grand Mesa. It's really beautiful, and it's actually on its second bloom. The chittlers are playing on the driveway. Hey guys, where are you going?
Going to go to town.
Oh, you're going to town? Have fun. We have some kale that actually just self-seeded, and I transplanted it here. This is kind of just a jumbled mess here of this bed. We had some extra tomato plants that Joseph wanted to plant, so those are here. Okay, so this is totally disorganized here. We've got perennial flowers, we've got self-seeded kale that was in the pathweed that I transplanted. We've got extra tomatoes that Jay just did not want to throw in the compost, so they're growing here. We have some self-seeded seashell again, if you can see that over here. We have a random corn because some chicken food fell and a corn plant sprouted, and I just couldn't bear to pull it up. So we've been we've been hand pollinating it, and we'll see if we get some corn here. And then hiding in the very back, we've got some celery that is probably really sad because it's getting no sun right now. I need to pull up all the lamb's quarter around it so it can get some sun. So be encouraged if you're not the most organized gardener, you don't have time to stick to your plan. It's okay to just have beds that are totally random, and it's okay to let your children plant things that should just go in the compost because it's fun.
Have fun sometimes.
Yes, just have fun sometimes. Always have fun. Alright, the next bed we have lemon balm that is threatening to take over the other plants in its space. So I've had to cut it back multiple times, which is okay. We love lemon balm. It's great for tea. But I think I will put it in a different location for next year because it's just really taking over the space. I may contain it somehow for next year. We have some potatoes that were planted in the spring that still need to come up. We've harvested most of them in this spot. They were our first try at Kennebec potatoes, and we're definitely going to grow them again because they did awesome. So if you need a good potato variety for the Missouri Ozarks, Kennebec is a great variety. Are the bugs bugging you? It's hard to be behind the camera when you got bugs coming at you from all directions, huh?
It's landing in my ear. Killing me. Trying not to shake the camera and swat my own face at the same time is a pretty tricky business.
Okay, so next we have some 5-color silver beet chard that's been growing since spring. It's almost done. It's time for me to plant a whole new batch of chard for going into the fall and winter. And then this beautiful red Spike Amaranth that I tell you, if you grow plants in Missouri that say they should only be about 3 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet tall, this might be what you get. Easily 5-6 feet tall, I would say. And
over 5 feet, yeah, it's 5.5 feet tall over there.
Yeah, so Missouri, certain things grow really, really tall, way taller than the package says. And I even pinched these off when they were little, so I cut off them at the center so they would branch out more, and they're still growing really tall. So this plant is a trap plant for the chard. It draws bugs away from the chard.
There's a for instance right there.
Is there a for instance right there? Yep.
Big old grasshopper right there.
It's also a plant that you can feed to your cows if you like. And I also planted this particular variety for cut flower arrangements because it gets this beautiful red spike of flowers that come out pretty soon. They should start coming. So, all right, last annual bed over here. We have some Blue Queen Salvia that I planted from seed, and I didn't expect it to bloom this year, but it's blooming and it's so beautiful. And then a couple more perennial plants that are not blooming yet in here. Then we've got some kale. We've got some more randomness. There's another anise hyssop that just self-seeded here. Another one here. Another corn that popped up. I started some red soba buckwheat in here as well because I'm thinking of using that as a cover crop or as a way to add nutrition in between crops. So I just wanted to test it. It was old seed, so not much sprouted, but I think I'm going to be getting some more of that to use as a cover crop to help add nutrient to the soil in between plantings. And then there's some more kale over here on the other side. And then this is a flower bed. Got lots of beautiful zinnias. Several of them just collapsed. That's what they do. Sometimes they get so tall, they'll just, especially if they get too much water, we have a rain, they'll just fall over. So I put a bunch of them off to the side that had broken off. We've got some lamb's ear in here, a butterfly bush in the middle, beautiful little, what's this called? This is an annual phlox called Cherry Caramel, I believe, and Autumn Joy Sedum that is just ready to take off and bloom here soon. It's going to be beautiful. Okay, now we're over here at our double arch trellis that we use for our purple pull beans. That's our favorite variety. So we've got our first batch of purple beans on this side, and then some newly planted on the other side that are getting ready to take off and give us a second crop of the purple pole beans. And I tried a new variety of marigold this year. It's called Kilimanjaro, and I had no idea how huge it was going to get, so I kind of planted it as a little border. And it's definitely not a border plant. If you try this type of marigold, definitely plant it like in a corner or in the back, not as a front border. I had to cut out a bunch of them just so I could walk through this trellis. And they're so... I also planted petunias along the outer edge of this trellis because petunias are supposed to be good with beans, and they're so beautiful. They did really well. I think I'll be growing petunias from now on because they did so well. Then we've got two perennial areas at the end of the double arch trellis here. We've got lots of things in these. We have lovage, chives, some lavender, which is pretty much past its time, but still a few blooms, and then a couple perennial flowers as well. Over here we've got some more of the purple mist flowers and a new favorite zinnia that I just tried this year. It's called Zahara Double Salmon, and it's really, really beautiful. It is a good border plant because it stays really compact. You don't have to deadhead it, and it's really drought tolerant. It's great. So if you want a good zinnia variety, that's a great one. Okay, in the back of the garden here, this is all eventually going to be just orchard, but we still have a few lingering trellises where we're growing some annuals. So here we've got one of our favorite summer squash. It's Zucchino rampicante. Woo! What was that?
Grasshopper.
And because we've grown this plant here for 3 or 4 years now in this location, it's really struggled, and I've had to fertilize it and really baby it along. We had another one planted that died, but this one's doing good now, so we're getting some nice squash off of it. This trellis is going to come down though for next year, and we're going to be planting another fruit tree back here and just turning this whole space into a nice shady orchard area. And then got a little volunteer zinnia in the pathway there. This back bed has some more perennial Egyptian walking onions, some more thyme, and then we've got a couple different varieties of catnip, and I'm not sure which varieties they are, but they're kind of filling up this space here. Got Esther Pye's garden in the very back corner here, and I'm not going to give you a tour of that. I'm going to let her probably tour that on her channel another time, but I do want to show you one cool thing she's got growing back here. This is, I believe it's called Purple Emperor. It's a sedum or stone crop, and it just is doing really good right now. It's so pretty back here. Alright, so then we have this direction. I had to put a bunch of cardboard down because this whole area was getting overgrown with weeds really bad. So that's why all the cardboard's down. This trellis here we have another purple pole bean growing, and then some Malabar spinach as well. And we've got two different varieties of cucumber back here. We've got our favorite large cucumber. This is a Marketmore, and we've grown this for the last 2 years now, and it's just doing really well. J-Bud, you want to take that? See if you can get another one over on this side, J-Bud. This one here.
Wow.
Yeah, they do really well. Here's one. You get that one there, Jay?
Well, yeah, have you been watching that one since it was a flower critter?
I
You haven't?
Yep, I haven't been watching it. I was gonna go pick those ones, but
Yeah, I think we've already got a bunch in the cold box that we're having for lunch as well. So this is just 2 plants back here, and they've been producing really, really well. And then on the other side, they haven't done as well. These are, I believe, called Muncher. These are The weeds are really taking over. Pickling cucumber. Let's see if I can find any. I don't even know if we have any left. Yeah, these are pretty much done. There's a couple teeny ones. Yeah, there's a little one there. These ones are doing okay, but you can tell they get attacked by the bugs quite a bit for some reason. Not sure, but this area back here I have tried to maintain, but you can tell it's out of control. We've got bee balm that needs cut down. There's a bunch of garlic chives that still need dealt with. I guess every gardener has a space like this where it's just out of control, and you kind of tell yourself, I gotta get to that today, but then you don't get to it because there's just so many other things. So I've just kind of let it go now and do its thing, and I figure this winter we'll redo the whole area anyway. So dropping cucumbers all over the place. Okay, so as we head back toward the other garden, the front garden, it's our kind of apple area. We've got 4 apple trees, and we do have a few apples, not very many. I believe I need to lime our soil in order to get more apples, so we're going to do that this fall and winter and see if that will help us get more apples, because these trees they've been in the ground for 7+ years, and we've gotten hardly any apples from them. So I'm pretty sure it's because our soil here needs to be amended with lime. So we'll try that. Oh, it's lunchtime.
Esther pie. Is it lunchtime?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So our front garden is just right across our driveway from our house. Still really close and easy to get to, and eventually we're going to have a barn out here, so it's going to be called our barnyard garden, but for now we just call it the front garden. And it's quite jungly right now, so watch your step as you come on into the gate. You almost can't find a spot to step in here anymore. We have 2 raised beds on the driveway side that have sweet potatoes, and then on either corner we've got our fig trees. One's a Celeste and one's a Chicago Hardy. And then we've got a huge patch of watermelon. It's our favorite watermelon called Orange Glow over on this side. We've got a bunch of winter squash growing here that's called red curry. And we've tried growing red curry before, but we have a hard time with bugs. This year I've seen very few squash bugs because I've been praying them away, and so I'm hopeful that we're going to get some of the red curry squash, because they're really, really sweet and yummy winter squash. Down here we've got Arkansas little leaf pickling cucumber, which is doing really fantastic. It's our first year growing this variety, Arkansas little leaf. I had 2 plants, one did die, but the other plant is doing really well. Could you get that one over there, please, J-Bud?
Very pretty. Thanks, honey.
We have sweet passion melon growing here. We've lost one, so I just have a bunch of babies. I don't know if they're gonna be good, but there's still a bunch of good sized melon. We have a hard time growing the musk melon family as well. I'm not sure why, but they just don't like our soil so well. We've got some rattlesnake beans growing, as well as some yard-long beans. When you go through the inside of the trellis, the yard-long beans they like hang down like a curtain. You kind of have to part the way to get through. They're really fun. They were seed that somebody sent to us, one of our subscribers, and so it's our first year trying those. And then there's also red noodle beans growing on this side of the trellis. There's one. It's all it's a tangled mess, but you get the idea. Big Chinese red noodle beans.
It's like 1.5 feet long.
Yeah, they get really long. I planted some more of those monster Kilimanjaro marigolds along this edge, and so they're mostly hiding the zinnias, but here's some more of the little Zahara double salmon zinnias tucked in. My goal was to have, you know, a little border of the zinnias and the marigolds, but the marigolds took over. And on this other side of the trellis we have dry bean. It's a black dry bean called Cherokee Trail of Tears that we've grown for about 4 years now. And so I gave it a whole side of the trellis, and those are going to be probably ready to harvest and shell in about another month. We'll see. At the end of the double trellis here we had orchard baby sweet corn that Joseph harvested for us was that about a month ago?
Yeah, I harvested it.
He was just all excited to harvest these little teeny corn cobs that were so good.
That's excellent, yeah.
Yeah, so orchard baby sweet corn was a win. We'll probably do those again. And then all amongst the corn is a bunch of different types of winter squash. And we also have some winter squash over by our short stuffed sunflowers. So this year we did butternut squash, we did sweet dumpling, which is like an acorn squash, and delicata. And we already got a little bit of a harvest of the sweet dumpling and delicatas.
Looks great.
Yeah, if you leave them on the ground, the bugs will get them. So even though the plants aren't dry yet, I go through and harvest a bunch of them to get them before the bugs get them. These are ready to cut and give to the chickens here soon. These are short stuffed sunflowers that we feed to our chickens to help supplement so we don't have to buy as much feed from the feed store. I forgot about these onion seeds I wanted to harvest, so
there we go.
I'm gonna get some onion seeds.
So the technical name for this is saving seed.
Seed saving. Yes. This is a really good time to save seed because the weather's for the most part dry. We get a lot of rain in Missouri, which is wonderful, but makes it hard to save seeds. I think that's about it for the front garden. So there's just one little other beginning of a garden space that is kind of sad, but we'll show it to you anyway. Alright, so way over here, way far away from our house. It's really not that far. It is across the driveway, but it's a ways further than the other gardens. It's the area that we're going to be putting in our main crop garden. So where we're going to be growing the bulk food that we want to put up and store for the winter. So we've got it mostly covered right now to just keep the weeds from going crazy. But we did put in 3 little beds with some sweet potato slips and sunflowers, and unfortunately a storm came and, well, you can see what happened. The children's play area fell down over the beds, so I was not able to weed them very well or even water them very well, and I don't know if we're gonna get sweet potatoes, but I'm hopeful still. Maybe it'll be our best sweet potato harvest yet. So we'll see how that does in about another month or so. We can dig those out, see what we find.
Alright, so my love asked me to do the close because she said her voice is about gone.
I'm not used to talking for so long straight. I do a lot of listening to our 7 children all day, so.
And typically short answers.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us on this journey. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, of course. Appreciate you guys very much. We pray blessing over you and yours, and whatever you do it with your whole heart.
Picking some cut things.
Alright, honey. Are you gonna be a gardener like your mommy?
Yeah.
Yay.
And guess what? I just saw a little blue flower back there. It was just blooming.
Is it really pretty?
Yeah.
Do you know that you're...
the yellow one.
Did you know you're way prettier than any flower?
Yeah. But except for a pink flower.
You're more pretty than any pink flower, I'll tell you that.
But except for a light one.